Greetings, friends and foes, hoes and joes. I'm shooting this from Croatia, Venetia, which is a tiny little village where my girlfriend's parents have an old summer property that's been in the family for many years. I'm feeling ye olde European on Christmas morning. So I'm shooting this on Christ's birthday. And it's freezing cold, and you won't watch this on YouTube for a week or so. Patrons will watch it tomorrow, but I just wanted to let you know I'm shooting it today. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Atheist Day, happy. We're heading into a new year, man. Look at this. Can you see this behind me? It's not so beautiful lately. It's very grim. You can see behind me, this is my girlfriend's mom has the most amazing garden of delights. Everything you could possibly need for any kind of vegetarian option gets grown in that garden there. And then on the trees out here, it's like paradise, really. It's like paradise. There's like 3 different kinds of cherry trees. There's a peach tree. And me and my girlfriend come here sometimes in the summer, and we just roll out of bed and we walk in the yard and we pull breakfast off of the trees. It's quite wonderful. But now we are in a phase of sleep, hibernation, deadening. We are in the winter phase, and it has made me contemplative. I got an email recently from a guy named, well, I won't say his name, and I won't say the name of the friend he CC'd. Is this going to be wet? Oh, it's cold and wet, but I'll sit down on it. See this nice little bench here? Okay, sorry guys. I'm shooting this spastically and in one take because I don't have any time this morning because we have to go to my girlfriend's parents' house. So excuse me for being sloppy. But let me show you this view. That's the garden, and that's like the village. That's like the main street there. That's this girlfriend's summer house property. Okay, showing you the setting. So listen, okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay, somebody needs to make a New Year's resolution to get in shape because I just walked up a hill and I'm winded. Okay, guys, listen, here's the thing. I got this email. I don't say people's names because sooner or later I misrepresent what people say, and they're like, dude, I didn't say that. So I never say people's names. So I got an email from a patron, and this patron CC'd a friend who's a Zen teacher of mine. And I was on the bus to Croatia with my girlfriend when I got this email. And I read it once, and then I read it again. And then I read it a third time, and each time that I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I want to see if my mic is working. Excuse me. Thank you. I think it's working. I read it a third time, and I started to get annoyed. And I was like, I don't know what he's asking me. He sort of seems to be stressed out because he can't find a Zen community that isn't perfect. And he's sort of stressed out because his home practice seems to be not perfect. So I sent him back kind of a bitchy email that was like, I don't know what the problem is. You've got a home practice and you've got a community. Like, what's the problem? Where's the question? And then I said, here's a picture of the fire I just made. And I sent him a picture of the fireplace at the summer house here where I just made a fire. It was kind of like a hasty reply to a thoughtful email. And then my friend, the Zen teacher who was CC'd on this email, sent back a far more considered reply. And then I got it. I got where my patron was coming from. My patron is experiencing practice burnout. He's burned out. And my Zen teacher friend picked up on this. And my Zen teacher friend said, my middle name is Burnout, but my guess is Jack's first name is Burnout. And I considered that and thought about it, and I thought I would make a quick video about, especially because we're heading into a new year now, and this is the time of New Year's resolutions, and it's cold and wintry, we're hibernating, we're growing our future selves, and when I think about growth, when I think about burnout, I've been real burned out in my life on Zen practice. And something hit me last night, and it hit me like hit me hard in the face. So there are moments when in your life, or periods in your life, when you just don't feel like hitting the cushion anymore. And I'm just going to speak for myself now. So one thing I've noticed is when I'm burned out, when I'm really, really burned out in my Zen practice, what that usually means is that I am not taking my practice and the insights from the practice and the tradition itself, I'm not taking it into my life. So there is a severance, like that TV show with that guy from Parks and Rec. Severance. There's a severance between like my practice self. I'm going to show you the nice view while I yammer at the woods. There's like my practice self, my little Zen monk self, my Zen priest self. And then there's the guy who's hanging out with my girlfriend and my girlfriend's son and is eating meat and drinking wine and sitting around in conversation during this holiday season, you know? And I find that I get burned out on Zen practice when there's the greater the gulf is between the two, okay? So I get burned out, interestingly, and maybe ironically, I get burned out on Zen and on Buddhism and on practice, on meditation, when I am not taking the practice into my life. So if you're burned out on prayer or whatever your religion is, whatever your main practice is, so you might want to take a moment to ask yourself, what is my main practice? And then what is my main, the principle that practice is based on? Because we're not Roshis, we're not gurus, we're not living at an ashram or in a Zen temple. We are in the world. And when my formal practice has hit difficult moments, I've had to, when the rubber hits the road, I've had to say, okay, what am I doing this for? Well, the practice is teaching me how to live. It is living the right way in that moment. It's creating a structured circumstance, like sitting on a cushion in a quiet space, so that I can live the right way in that moment. That's all it is, living the right way in the moment. Now, there's nothing special about sitting on a cushion in a structured circumstance in quiet. It just happens to be a very elegant way to put certain principles into practice. But when I get burned out on that elegant way of putting principles into practice, it means that I am not taking my practice into my life. I'll give you 3 personal examples that I'm very embarrassed about, but I'll share them anyways. Okay, and this is something maybe you can think about for as we head into the new year. So Zen, when you sit in a zendo, you sit up straight, your back is straight but not rigid, and you are breathing in and you are breathing out, and you are doing a simple activity with total intention, such that your thinking mind is gone. It has been given to the activity. Like when ancient peoples sacrificed lambs on an altar for God, we give ourselves on the altar of practice, if you will, and the lamb we're sacrificing is our ego or our animal self, really. And that teaches us how to live. But we don't always... Oh, my arm is getting tired, excuse me. I'm really out of shape. If I wasn't so loquacious, my arm wouldn't be tired. Okay. Number one, Hold on, I gotta rest. Okay, so again, practice is you learn how to live, and then you bring that learning into your life, and you live your life. That's all practice is. That's all it's for. We're lay people. This is what we do. Bring it into our life. So, and then if I'm burned out on my practice, which I have been a little bit burned out lately, I can look at my life and I can say, where are you not bringing your practice into your life? There are 3 areas. Number 1, dudes, I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to it. I check it a lot. I get sloppy, and I'm in maybe a social situation where, or I'm just have a private moment. I grab my phone and I check it. Now, there's a reason for this. When I get bad news regarding to how I pay my bills, it always comes through my phone. And I recently, as you know, finished a creative project, and I gave it to a bunch of people to read, and I was waiting to hear from their feedback. So I had potentially I have potentially a lot of news coming through my phone. News that is meaningful to me. News that can mean something good or something bad in my life. And it comes through my phone. And that's fine. All of that's fine. But the thing is, an unpracticed type behavior is to compulsively do something. That is doing it unmindfully. I'm not a big fan of the word mindfully because it's been so misused and co-opted by corporate America and anyone else who wants to make a dime off the notion of peace and calmness. But nonetheless, mindfulness is what I am not. Mindful is what I am not when I'm compulsively grabbing my phone. So if I'm burned out on my practice, I should look into my compulsion to keep checking my phone. This is an area where my practice can come into my life. And you if you're burned out, as I said, and seems to be the theme of this very extempore video, on your practice, you're burned out in your practice, it means you're not bringing your practice into your life. And it can be scary and weird to bring your practice into your life. It feels a little bit forced. It feels a little bit forced for me to stop and hold the sensation of compulsion when I feel the need to grab my phone. But if I keep doing that, I become more and more awake. I cultivate and train in a present moment awareness, sati as it's called, and I approach my phone in a more Buddha-like way, I guess you could say, in a way that's truer to my higher self. And I think that that's always what we're trying to do when we bring our practice into our life, is just be a little bit truer to our higher self. And higher probably isn't the right word, but if you get sloppy, dudes, if you get sloppy too much, you become slop without even really knowing it. And slop is compulsively checking your phone. If you have to check your phone for business, great. But maybe you have compulsive things too. Maybe you drink a beer in the afternoon. I was talking to my friend in Wisconsin the other day, and the time difference was such that he was Zooming me in the morning, and I was Zooming him in the evening. And he had a tin can, and it was silver, and it looked beerish. I was like, dude, are you drinking a beer in the morning on a weekday? That might be a compulsion. The compulsion to eat sugar, the compulsion to eat chips, the compulsion to drink soft drinks, the compulsion to smoke cigarettes, pop pills, over-caffeinate, the compulsion to talk, which brings me to the second thing I'm embarrassed about. So I'm going to switch hands here. Oh, gosh. Oh, okay, I hope that worked. Hold on, I'm going to see if it worked. Number 2, one thing I've noticed is, in terms of getting sloppy and not bringing my practice into my life, I've noticed sometimes I get into like this weird compulsive talking type. It's like unmindfully opening my mouth. Now, some people go quiet in social circumstances, and other people just say dumb things. And I've noticed, lately I've had a habit of speaking to fill silences. Can you hear the church bells? They still do that here. Like I said, we're in a Croatian village. So that means I'm speaking so fast because we have to go to my lovely, I call her my lady pal now, not my girlfriend, my lady pal. We have to go to her parents' house. That means it's 11:30, and it might be 12, and we got to leave at 12:15. I better get wise quick. Okay. Speaking of compulsively speaking, I compulsively speak sometimes to fill silences. There are some people who get a little bit too pensive and don't speak, and then other people have to carry the weight of socializing. And there are some people who compulsively fill silences, and I've noticed I've been doing that more and more. I'll say something to my girlfriend when there's silence, and I don't necessarily need to, right? And I've noticed sometimes when I'm around my girlfriend and her son, sometimes I'll just say something stupid, and then they'll both kind of look at me. And that's not... I've noticed this about myself. So again, it's not bringing practice into the world. It's compelling people to respond to my neuroticism, my need for attention in a moment, my need for their attention. So those are two areas, the phone and compulsively speaking up, that during this vacation trip to my girlfriend's parents' house in Croatia here, that I've noticed are ways in which I am not bringing my practice into my life, right? Now, I had a moment last night when I was thinking about my friend's email, my patron's email, right? And I was thinking about how you bring your practice into your life and why I don't do it more often. And I was thinking about how I was going to shoot this video on Christmas morning. And I thought, well, tell them something specific and do it right now, because you're just running through your video in your head, but you're not actually contemplating the patron's question. And then I realized that to practice in the real world is the same as practice on the cushion. And what practice means to me is putting certain principles into practice. And this is so basic, and I'm going to close out this video and close out my 2024 videos with this insight, which has been a theme this whole year for me here on Zen Confidential. Again and again and again, I come back to this. My practice gets simpler and simpler and simpler. And last night I was sitting in front of the fire in this summer house with my girlfriend wrapping presents behind me. I make the fire, she wraps the gifts. And she's starting to catch on that once you learn how to make the fire, it goes pretty quickly, right? So she spent a lot of time wrapping the gifts, and I spent a little bit of time making the fire, and she started to figure out that this isn't an equal balance of duties. So we're going to have to split things a little bit more evenly. But I did that thing. Hold on. Okay, we're still filming. We're still good. I did that thing where I'm like, gosh, how do you wrap presents? It's so weird. You like to put the presents on top of the paper and you just crumple it and put a piece of tape on? She's like, I'll do it. I did that stupid guy thing where you don't know how to do something. She never falls for that, by the way. She has a great tolerance for things not getting done or cleaned. So I wind up doing it because she has a greater tolerance than me. She can like stand me down on all the usual stuff where the guy doesn't do something because she has greater tolerance for stuff not getting done than I do. What was my point? My point, other than neurotic talking and not checking my phone, my point is that practice can be weird to do it in the world because it doesn't feel like yourself. It feels like something else. It feels like your practice self. And I noticed this last night as my girlfriend was wrapping gifts and I'd made the fire and I sat down by the fire and I ate some pickles. And I thought, and here's this fucking guy eating pickles. What does this have to do with Zen? I was sitting there eating. Her mom makes these great pickles, and I was eating one of them or two of them. I was eating like 8 of them, and it was a moment when my mind would normally drift and be sloppy, and I straightened my back, and I sat on the edge of the couch, and I moved with deliberation. And I took the pickle and I felt it. So I'm sorry to have to repeat myself, but I need to keep learning these same lessons over and over and over. And I put all that energy that was distracted and that was in Christmassy stuff and sort of a gaseous fumes of self, partially thinking about writing, partially thinking about my girlfriend, partially thinking about the evening, partially thinking about pickles. I took all that mundane mentation and focused it on the pickle. I gave myself to the pickle, right? And I ate it. And it was weird because it felt like I was leaving the social situation. It felt like I was leaving myself. And I was totally intimate with the pickle. And I crunched the pickle, and then I did it again. And very quickly I realized I was compulsively eating pickles. And so I stopped doing pickle eating practice. So that's one thing that happens when you practice in the real world. You discover that maybe you're doing something you don't particularly want or need to do. So I put the pickles away, and then I just sat in front of a fire. So practicing for me in the real world is entering the situation that I am in fully. So it means committing to the situation that I am in. It can be talking to a relative and listening to a relative while sitting on a chair, but it's giving them my complete focus, and not in some creepy, like, spiritual way where they look at me like, why are you acting like a guru, you know? It's within me. It's my practice, right? I am manifesting that practice self. And one doesn't have to do this all evening, right? I mean, turning your Christmas party into your Zen practice. You don't draw attention to yourself. Again, the practice is teaching you how to live, and you bring that into the world. The life is what's important, and the practice dissolves into the life, right? You're bringing practice into your life. It may be different for roshis and gurus and enlightened beings that have long conversations with Oprah on her television show, but I'm assuming that's none of us, right? We're trying to bring our practices into our worlds to manifest our higher selves, or our least sloppy ass selves. Because when you manifest sloppy ass self day after day, you teach yourself to be a sloppy ass self, and then it's hard to get out of that zone, right? And then you go to the Zendo and you feel like you're a great monk for 20 minutes, 35, a couple hours, and you get out of there and you feel like your sloppy ass self again, and you start getting burned out on practice, right? Because you're not bringing that, because I'm not bringing that practice into my life. And it doesn't take much. Crunch one pickle with complete focus, dying into the pickle eating activity, and it hits the reset button. That's where we're at now at the end of this year, 2024. We're hitting the reset button. We're heading into 2025, a new year of our lives. God bless you. Did I just say that? You don't say Buddha bless you, whatever. God bless you. Thank you for your support, dear, dear, dear patrons. Thank you for your support. And let's do it, baby. 2025, bring in practice into life. Bye.